What if I told you all of those GM books that you've been buying? What if I told you you could get exponentially more value out of those books? And I'm not being like dramatic. You can actually they can be exponentially more valuable with this one tip. This is so clickbaity. This one tip is going to make your books exponentially more value. And that tip can be explained in, I think, 3 words. No, 2 words. 2 words. You ready for the 2 words to give you exponentially more value? Roll twice. So what if I told you you could get double the value? How do you do it? Roll twice. What does that mean, Mike? What the hell are you talking about? Roll twice. Here's the deal. Random encounter tables and pretty much any of the random tables that you have in any of your GM books. One of the ways that you can make them really interesting, roll twice on the tables. And sometimes you can do it with like random items. A lot of times you can do it, certainly with random monsters it works. Random traps, all of those tables you can roll twice. And we're going to show some experiments right now where we can do that. So we are going to use the Level Up Advanced 5e Trials and Treasure book for this. This is sort of the Level Up Advanced 5e's version of the Dungeon Master's Guide. It is their book that includes things like exploration rules. It includes random monster tables. It includes treasure that you can drop in. Lots of great stuff. It is a really good, really fantastic book. Even if you're running vanilla D&D 5th edition, but you're looking for a book that has more information, certainly stuff that I think is outlined and laid out better than what you find in the Dungeon Master's Guide. The Level Up Advanced 5e Trials and Treasure book is really, really good, and I highly recommend it. I've done a spotlight on it before. I may do a spotlight on it again because I really like it. In particular, I might focus on the exploration rules. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about random tables. So here in Chapter 4 under Exploration, we have regions. You go to the regions, and this is where you start to get lots and lots of random tables that are set for all different regions of the world. And that's great. There's tons and tons of them, hundreds. Like just hundreds and hundreds of encounters. Now, this is great. One thing, my little nitpick would be for this, if I was going to pick, and I'm guess I'm going to pick, is that when you have something like you roll a number and it says noble, that doesn't really tell you anything. One of the things I really like from random encounter tables is when it has context along with the encounter. So it's not just bugbears, it's bugbears are harassing a merchant, or bugbears have just assassinated somebody, right? Do something that talks about why these bugbears are there. You can always not use whatever the motivation is, but it gives you a little bit more for an encounter to have that motivation. But let's take a look at this Countrysire Exploring Table Tier 2. So the idea is that things have escalated up in the world a little bit and you're facing some more powerful foes. So we'll just roll once to see what we get. Right? Hey, characters are wandering around in the Countrysire. What do they run into? 78. 78 is an ogre. So an ogre shows up. Okay, great. Hey, characters are walking around, an ogre shows up. That's boring. Right? Is that really exciting? No. But what if we roll twice instead? Let's roll twice. 45, a griffin, and 90, a social encounter. Let's see what that actually is. So that was page 103. Remember the griffin, but we're going to the social encounter on page 103. So we've got our social encounter table here, which is still pretty cool. 18. So 18 out of social encounters. A child who has run away from home. So already, imagine a child who has run away from home and is riding on the back of a griffin. The child is like, you hear this thing and you look up in the sky and you see a griffin flying around and somebody's on it with arms outstretched like Neverending Story going, wee! And you're like, what the hell? And then the griffin comes down and the kid is like, big griffin lands on the ground and like looks at you and snorts and is clawing at the ground. And the kid goes, do you have cookies? And you're like, what? And it's like, I want a cookie. And the griffin's looking at you, he wants something too. I don't think he wants a cookie. And now you have this encounter where you mixed up a kid that's riding in a griffin. How much cooler is that than either a kid that is lost from home or a griffin on their own? Not, way cooler, if you ask me. Let's try another one. We're going to do Tier 1 in the Blasted Lands. Deserts notorious for capricious ruins, yada, yada, yada. Let's do some Blasted Lands stuff here. 66. Is a pit trap. That's exciting. You're walking along the Blasted Lands, then you fall in a pit. Boring. Let's roll twice. Let's roll again. 62. 62 is an ogre, right? So now you have a pit trap, and there's like hiding behind a rock is maybe some ogres that are waiting for you to fall in the pit trap. Or maybe an ogre has already fallen in a pit trap. It's like, help, I sprained my ankle. I fell down this stupid pit trap and my ankle is hurt. Help me out, right? You can decide like, ooh, which way do I want to do it? But now you've got this cool motivation. There's a pit trap and an ogre. All you had to do was roll twice. right? Very, very easy to do. And if you think about it, when I say it's exponentially more valuable, it's all of the encounters on this table times all of the encounters on this table. It's actually slightly less because you don't want Bandit Captain plus Bandit Captain. So it's a little less than exponential, but it's still a whole lot. Let's do it again. Let's pick a different one. Isn't this fun? This is fun. Faewood. Let's do tier 3 in the Faewood because it's really, now it's dangerous. You've entered the Faewood, right? The dangerous Faewood. We roll once, 91, a wyvern. Is that exciting on its own? You're in the Faewood. You face a wyvern. Not really. That's not really exciting. Roll again, 33. Hobgoblin Warlord. A Hobgoblin Warlord and his army comes riding, and he is riding on a wyvern. A bunch of hobgoblins come riding in, maybe on dire wolves or on what are those goblin things that they ride on? Oh, I forget. Wargs. So hobgoblins come riding on wargs, and a Hobgoblin Warlord comes riding in, and he's like, "You're all drafted. We're going to war. We're going to war with the Fae Queen, and you're all drafted. Get in line." Right? Like, fun. You get ideas. Your mind goes in different ways. You could, of course, switch it around, and a wyvern is about to kill a Hobgoblin Warlord. You save the Warlord, and he's your best friend. Right? You have all different ways that you could go with this. Let's do another one. Fiery Hellscape. Let's do a tier 2. Let's do tier 4 Fiery Hellscape, because Fiery Hellscapes are really nasty. Not a lot of options on the Fiery Hellscape, I'll tell you. 9 is a Chained One, the Chained Devil variant, right? Okay, that's cool. 37, a Calcos. I don't even know what that is. So you have, again, 2 creatures. Maybe one is commanding the other. Maybe the other is commanding the one. Maybe they're fighting each other. Who knows what these 2 things are do? And maybe it is just a monstrous encounter, but maybe it's a mixture of a chained one commanding a bunch of, I don't know what a Calcos is. I don't have the monster book handy. But maybe it's the chained devil that's commanding a bunch of these things. So even when you're just mixing up 2 monster types to be in an encounter to fight, it's still more interesting. But a lot of times you can use it to drive the rest of the story for it. So this is a fantastic lazy trick. Roll twice. It is, when you think about the value that we can squeeze out of these books that we get, and you do something like reskinning. Reskinning is another technique where you get a tremendous amount of extra value out of the books you have. And the whole trick to reskinning is take a thing that you find in a book, call it something else, but use the same mechanics. Really, really easy thing to do. Easily done with monsters, and it takes your monster book and makes it, again, exponentially more useful. It makes it multiplied by the number of different kinds of creatures you can imagine. So that's really powerful. Likewise, rolling twice on a random table in order to get your ideas. That is where you can get a lot of extra value, even when they're not adding context, right? Because you can see, like, let's roll exploring tier 2. We're going to stay in the Hellscape. We're going to have a tier 2. 57. Marsh gas, right? So they're dealing with marsh gas. That on its own is not very exciting. I've had adventures where, like, oh, you're walking through marsh gas, everybody make a Constitution saving throw. It's pretty lame, right? That when you just have one thing, it's actually pretty lame. The minute you add a second one, 18, a bearded devil. Bearded devils in marsh gas, right? Now you've got a potentially really interesting tactical encounter where you're trying to go through marsh gas getting attacked by bearded devils, or a roleplay encounter where a bunch of bearded devils got stuck in marsh gas themselves. You can change this, and immediately when you just take one vector and cross it with another, now you get really interesting things. And you can do this with all kinds of other tables too. The Lazy DM's Companion, my book, which is packed with random tables, they are designed for you to be able to roll on multiple tables simultaneously or mixed tables. So that is my tip for the day. 2 words, roll twice, and immediately gives you a whole wide range of different ways to fire off your imagination and get a whole lot more value out of the random tables that you find most often in GM-focused role-playing game materials. I hope you enjoyed this show. If you did and you want more stuff from me, the best way to get it is to join up and sign up for the Sly Flourish newsletter. It is absolutely free to sign up. You get a free Adventure Generator PDF for signing up, and you get a weekly RPG-related email sent directly to your inbox. It includes links to all of the other work that I do everywhere else, so it's the best way to see all of the different things that I do. The other thing you can do is support me directly on Patreon. I talked about Readings and Reflections, the exclusive Patreon hero tier subscriber benefit, but there's lots of other things you get for being a patron of Sly Flourish. Lots of tools, tips, tricks, books, dedicated Discord server, the monthly Q&A, lots of stuff you get for being a patron, a supporter on Patreon. And to the patrons, thank you so much. And you can pick up any of my books on the Sly Flourish bookstore. That includes Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, Lazy DM's Companion, Lazy DM's Workbook, Forge of Foes, and all 4 of my Fantastic Adventure books, Fantastic Adventures, Runes of the Grendel Root, Fantastic Layers, and Fantastic Locations. They're all available on the Sly Flourish bookstore. Thank you all very much. Have a great day, and get out there and play a role-playing game.